Hey everyone, Nubkeks here, and I hope you're hyped by this in the background. The new login screen is here on the test realm, but in today's video we're going to be talking about the big changes in this week's patches for the beta and for the public test realm. We're going to be looking at big buffs, actually, to the Druid specs, all the Druid specs actually, but particularly the bears. We're going to look at some more nerfs for the Havoc Demon Hunter and a couple little class tweaks to the Hunter as well. And then we're also going to talk about some of the upcoming changes to the PvP vendor and how that's going to affect the game. Okay, so the first big thing and the most flashy thing in many ways of today's, this week's update is, of course, the new login screen is here in all of its glory. New music, the new background. You're going to get used to seeing this over the next couple of years. You can actually see this on the public test realm, which is available for anyone to download and install and play. So you can go and run this on your PC yourself if you want that little preview. But in my opinion, this looks absolutely incredible, looks awesome. And I do really like the music track, actually. I've listened to it through a couple of times. It's epic, it's very good. So yeah, good login screen. The first thing I want to look at here in this week's patch is the Druid changes to balance, first of all. Forgive me for my action bars being a total mess. This is obviously, I copied this character just over from the live servers to show you this, because the patch isn't yet on the beta. It's not yet on the beta, but for the balance Druid, let's talk about Eclipse first. Eclipse is the big new mechanic, obviously, that's coming in the beta, and this has been slightly tweaked. In particular, they've changed how the lunar eclipse works. So if I go into a lunar eclipse, I'll cast 2 rats, and this is going to empower my Starfire. So Starfire is now empowered, as you can see. And actually, a very good change that they've done to this is that it's now going to increase the critical strike chance of Starfire by 20%. This was previously increasing its area of effect damage by 100%. So that felt very, very bad in single target scenarios, you know, because you have to alternate between eclipses. Like, I can't go back into a lunar eclipse right now. If I do 2 rats, I can't do it. I have to do 2 Starfires and go into a solar eclipse, right? So it felt very bad to go into single target and be in a lunar eclipse. This now feels much better, right? This now feels a lot better. You just have crit chance. Crit chance is great for AoE. Crit chance is great for single target. Crit chance is good. Crit chance feels good. To make up for that, they have tweaked then Soul of the Forest, where Eclipse will still increase Rat's astral power generation by 25%, which is obviously useful for both single and AoE. But now for Starfire, that's where the area of effect damage is. So yeah, they essentially swap these 2 effects around. You now get the crit bonus in the solar or the lunar eclipse baseline. Go into Soul of the Forest if you want some more area of effect damage. So likely in single target, you know, Star-Lord is probably going to pull ahead. And Incarnation is obviously going to be a good general one. So it's going to be a tough thing to choose which one. I like Incarnation the best, but we'll have to see. Another change, though, is actually something of a nerf to Incarnation, is that your Celestial Alignment, there it is up here, has now been changed. Was it giving you crit? Let me just double check my notes here. Okay, no. So, yeah, they've tweaked this back and forth in terms of whether Incarnation is giving you crit or Celestial Alignment. Now, Celestial Alignment is going to give you both Eclipses and only 10% haste, so they've nerfed that down. And Incarnation is going to give you all the benefits of Celestial Alignment. It will give you an additional 10% crit chance on top of that. So yeah, these are not as insanely powerful as they were, I guess, at the start of the beta when they were giving you more of these. I think at some point, I feel like at some point they were even giving you like 20% crit baseline with Celestial Alignment. Now it's only the 10% haste, so that's been nerfed down, but it still is a powerful cooldown. It feels good. And with how the new Eclipse system is working, actually getting both of the Eclipses at the same time and how that works with your mastery and blah, 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 feels really good. You can check out the Balanced Druid video to see more on that in particular. Now, for all Druid specs, this is very good news, is they have improved the damage of all of the Druid dots, or well, the 2 main Druid dots in Moonfire and in Sunfire. So they've upped the spell power scaling from 87% of your spell power to 104% of your spell power. So, you know, it's about a 20% damage increase overall on those 2 spells, which is actually fairly substantial. This is obviously nice for balance. It's going to reward you for multi-dotting. In particular, this is really, really good for Resto Druid. A massive buff for Resto Druid in dungeons. They didn't need it, but they got it, right? Why is it a massive buff? Well, from my experience playing on the beta and doing some Mythic Plus, part of it probably being that, well, we're new to these dungeons, but you do spend a lot of time healing in the dungeons. You don't spend a lot of time actually doing damage. So for the Resto Druid, being able to, when you pull a pack, just slap a Sunfire on, and have that actually now do even more damage and be able to just multi-dot a bit with Moonfire, that's actually going to feel pretty good. You know, you're going to get you're going to have a better damage contribution, even if you can't go into cat form or you can't go into Moonkin form, depending on your affinity as Resto Druid to do damage. And yeah, this is also, of course, good for the Guardian and for Feral. Feral has a talent that lets them do Moonfires, and Guardian, of course, has the same thing. They've got a talent that really emphasizes the power of Moonfire. So yeah, this is, I think, a good perk to all of them. On top of that, the bear has seen a few little tweaks as well. First up, we have a new passive, Infected Wound, where Mangle and Maul will cause an infected wound in the target, reducing their movement speed by 50% for 12 seconds. So, I'm not sure if they had an effect quite like this before, but yeah, I think it's pretty awesome, right? That's a nice little bit of a slow. It's going to help you. Mangle is a single target rage generator, and Maul is your single target rage spender. So it is a single target slow, but that's still kind of nice for some tank, for kiting stuff. That's okay. The bigger deal, though, is that at level 50, and you can see I actually can't get this to show it to you right now until this goes live on the beta. I don't have a max level Druid from live to copy over. Shame on me. But we have a new talent called Tooth and Claw. This actually replaces Lunar Beam. Lunar Beam was, I think, a 1.5 minute cooldown that called down this ray of light from the sky, did some AoE damage, and it healed you. It wasn't taken very much at all. Tooth and Claw is new. Auto attacks have a 20% chance to empower your next Maul, stacking up to 2 times. Empowered Maul does 40% increased damage and reduces the target's damage to you by 15% for 6 seconds. So this actually becomes quite exciting as a fairly like a semi-passive single target thing. It's quite intriguing to really up the damage of that Maul and give you some fairly controllable damage reduction. Interesting, right? Pretty interesting. Now, it does obviously compete with the new Pulverize, which is the 30-second cooldown, consumes 2 stacks of Thrash. It does a bit of damage and reduces the damage the target does to you. Again, single target by 20% for 10 seconds. So this gives you the very controllable 10 seconds of 20% damage reduction on a 30-second cooldown. I can choose when to fire this off. It's under my control, but it is limited to maximum 10 seconds out of every 30. Tooth and Claw. This is a bit more based on auto attacks, like something like Wind Fury Totem from the Enhancement Shaman, which increases the number of auto attacks you fire off. It kind of probably work well with this one. And yeah, you can probably save up those stacks. You can stack it up to 2 times before you fire it off. Obviously now with Maul does cost a lot of rage, and it is still unfortunately on the GCD. But Maul, yeah, it costs 40 rage, so you're going to give up essentially an Iron Fur for this. So that's definitely what you want to consider, right? You get 15% damage reduction, but you do lose out on the Iron Fur stack. We'll see what the tuning ends up being. Is it worth it? It might be worth it. Certainly on some easier single target fights, it could be kind of nice actually to just straight up just do more, you know, especially for the damage bonus, and still get some survivability. So it'll let you just simply cast Maul a lot more in like an easy single target part of the fight and get more damage output, which is nice. We'll have to see. It's possibly okay. Certainly an interesting rework. And yeah, there you go. That is the new talent tier for the Druids. Over in the land of the Hunters, and please forgive, the game is lagging really hard right now. Oh my god. Maybe I shouldn't be here. This is a bad place to be. It wasn't this bad with the Druid, I guess. We're in a different phase. Very sorry about this, but a couple of little tweaks to the Hunter. First of all, Arcane Shot has been nerfed, guys. So it now costs 40 focus and does 315 arcane damage. Cobra Shot has been buffed, now costing 45 focus. Again, that is higher than it is in BFA, right? So this is the Shadowlands version. This now does 551 physical damage and reduces the cooldown of kill command. So this is essentially the fix to one of the problems I pointed out with BM Hunter when we looked at it in the beta, which was that Cobra Shot was just straight up in every situation, all the time, always worse than Arcane Shot. With the previous tuning, you would spam Arcane Shot instead of Cobra Shot and do 10% more DPS. It was crazy. So this is now fixed. So for example, against a target dummy, Arcane Shot did 309, Cobra Shot did 406. For 5 more focus, Cobra Shot does more damage against a typically armored target. And it also gives you the cooldown reduction on kill command. So yeah, it's nice to see that in and working. It's a pity they didn't reduce the focus cost of it, because there is still the concern that, well, with Spitting Cobra, which is your talent, that every Cobra Shot you fire off is going to up the damage of the Spitting Cobra. Without getting the focus reduction, you're still not getting that many Cobra Shots out, so this still isn't as insanely good as that. I think it does make Killer Cobra Certainly more appealing though, so Killer Cobra might be a little bit better because you're not spamming Cobra Shot as hard with that. So yeah, there you go. That it's a small change, right? It's a small change, but that certainly fixes one of the concerns we had with BM Hunter. I mean, obviously we expected this to be fixed. It's just good to see that it has been fixed. Over then for the Havoc Demon Hunter, we have another nerf to Havoc come in this week's patch. This is of course my main, currently live in Nyalotha. But obviously at the start of the Shadowlands beta, they nerfed survivability across the board for Havoc Demon Hunter. And one of the things they did was they removed the 1 second of 100% dodge that you got whenever you pressed Blade Dance. They removed that. However, they left it in when you were in demonic form with Death Sweep. However, if we go into demon form, you can see that Death Sweep no longer has that 100% dodge for 1 second built in. So it is now gone in demon form as well. No dodging with that. Of course, they've also, as you can see, that hits up to 5 other nearby enemies, so that both of those have the target cap. That was just a tooltip change. It was already working like that on the beta. So yeah, I mean, this has a very big impact on Mythic Plus. If I, for example, show you a couple of things in Mythic Plus here. So if you remember this boss, the Council of Tribes, right? Koala the Butcher, she's the one that threw these spinning axes, like that would circle around the room on the ground. Horrible ability. But she also had Severing Axe, and certainly on higher Mythic Plus keys, and especially on Tyrannical, this would do a lot of damage. Like right now on basic Mythic, just the basic Mythic 0, it's doing 10% of my hit points every 2 seconds. Obviously that would scale up, and this would be an absolutely terrifying damage over time effect. Guess what? You were able to just Blade Dance it. Blade Dance it, it can't hit you. Amazing. Also, the other guy, the big guy that would barrel through and charge at people, just Blade Dance it. You know, there's a lot of ridiculous stuff you could do, like Council of Captains, like whatever. Remember how horrible like Eudora's Powder Shot is? Blade Dance it. You're fine. Just dodge forehead. So all of that is gone. That whole gameplay aspect is gone. So it's actually for higher level Mythic Plus. This is a massive nerf to the Havoc Demon Hunter, that you're no longer going to be able to, like when you pop meta, it's like that level of safety of being able to dodge dangerous single target physical abilities that randomly target you. That's gone. So massive nerf. I think it's good though for PvP. Personally, you know, having played against Havoc Demon Hunter as like a physical base class, it's just bloody annoying when they just dodge stuff semi-randomly. That's just annoying. I don't like dealing with that. That sucks. So I'm kind of glad that's gone for PvP. It's just a bit more clarity for PvP, which I think is good. But yeah, bad news for the Havoc Demon Hunters. Back then on the beta servers, and I want to look at PvP gear and some of the changes that are going to be coming in over the next couple of weeks. So I don't think I've shown this in a video before, but this is where the PvP vendors are in Oribos, the capital city for the Shadowlands. You've got your honor vendor. This gear you can buy with honor points. It is relatively expensive, I'd say. Like gear typically something like 2,000 ish to 3,000 honor to buy. There is a conquest vendor as well currently in the game. The gear costs about 1,600 conquest. You can earn how much can you earn per week? I don't know. You're limited by the amount of conquests you can earn per week, though. There are some quests, and then you can obviously upgrade it. In fact, if I show you how the upgrading works for now, again, I suspect that these are. Let me get just a typical 2,000 cost item. I suspect these are typically, maybe a bit overvalued, but like the first level of upgrade costs 1,500, and you can upgrade it multiple times. Works very like the item upgrades we saw for benthic gear, for example. Same sort of interface. Upgrade it up. And you can upgrade like this basic honor gear right now up to item level 190, which is okay. If we look at a dungeon, for example, Mist of Tyrannus Scythe, that's fine. If we go into Mythic, Mythic is dropping, basic Mythic, Mythic 0 is dropping 183 gear. Now, that's quite a bit of honor, so I don't know if those numbers are final, but one thing that they are going to change is the itemization for these. They actually posted a blue post covering what they are going to change. So what they're going to be changing is this. They're going to change the stat distribution that you're going to find on Conquest gear. And now Conquest gear will always have versatility. And then it's the second stat, there's going to be 2 out of 3 possible options. So you'll either get Verse Haste gear, Verse Mastery gear, or Verse Crit. You'll have 2 out of these 3 for each piece. So there's going to be 1 of these that's going to be missing for each piece. Which I think, honestly, that's fine. Like, whatever. Versatility is the best stat for PvP, so that makes a lot of sense. For PvE, it's a little bit interesting in the sense that for some specs, versatility is very good. So like Havoc Demon Hunter or Windwalker Monk, I guess typically speaking, it's sort of specs that have bad secondary stat scaling often find value in versatility. So for them, PvP gear might actually be relevant for PvE. For most specs though, this is going to be a little bit more PvP focused. They're also going to add a 2-piece set bonus that you get by equipping 2 PvP trinkets, such as the Crowd Control Breaking Medallion, or things like the Battle Masters, Dominance Trinkets, etc. And this bonus will increase the damage and healing benefit of versatility while in arenas, battlegrounds, or war mode. Now, it doesn't affect the defensive benefit, which I think is pretty good. I think that's fine. So, of course, just worth mentioning, if you look at your honor talents, you no longer have your medallion. That's not there. That is now actually physically a trinket. Is it in here? There it is. Yeah. So Sinful Aspirant's Medallion. This is now a trinket that you actually want to equip. And of course, you always will be equipping that. So yeah, I think it's honestly, I think these are pretty good changes. I think they're good changes. My concern would be that this is just the conquest gear. I'm not sure if they're going to apply this to the honor gear, which is the bigger question, right? Because especially getting into PvP, like as a new PvP player, I think that could be quite intimidating. Like if you're going up against, like if you join, like what happened to me, for example, in Mists of Pandaria, I joined in and there was lots of PvP stats and stuff happening in Mists. But I remember just playing very casually. I went into a battleground as a Ret Paladin. I saw a Warlock. I went, ooh, he's got cloth armor. He's squishy. Popped all my CDs and I just started blasting at him. I don't think I even got through his shield. His like demon skin or whatever. He just turned around and like flicked and just one-shot me. Like basically, that was just destroyed. And that really put me off PvP. I went, well, fuck that. And I never played it again. You know? But yeah, so that's a concern if that sort of thing happens a little bit. That could be a little underwhelming. Like obviously the bonus from if you're not going to be able to get your verse gear until you gather all the conquest stuff, this stat bonus feels a little underwhelming. But I think if they put this in on the battleground gear, I think this will actually be a pretty happy medium where you're going to feel good in PvP with the PvP gear. You can bring in some PvE gear while you're still gearing yourself up in PvP, and that will be okay. It won't be as good, but be okay. And definitely emphasizing the value of the trinkets is important, because that's kind of what broke a lot of PvP, I think, in BFA. There was a lot of broken trinkets that had to be mega nerfed for PvP. So I think trying to nip that in the bud a little bit is good. By the way, to say goodbye, this is the lunar beam. I thought I'd show this to you just because I wasn't able to show it to you earlier in the video. This is the lunar beam. This is the talent that's going away. Bye. And again, just to reiterate, like if you look at this is my total damage for the other side +5. Sunfire and Moonfire by far my biggest source of damage, so both of those being buffed up, it's going to help bring a much healthier damage contribution as the rest of Druid. Obviously, we were struggling with the dungeon, you know, in the sense that we didn't know the dungeon very well at all. Yeah, it was just difficult to weave in some DPS, so nice DPS buffs that I mentioned with the dots to the Resto Druid. But there you go, guys. They are all the major changes that I wanted to cover in this week's beta, and more explicitly the public test realm update. Let me know what you think. And yeah, hopefully we'll have a bigger patch next week that will have more changes in, and hopefully we'll get to actually see this this testing stuff here and get to see what their itemization is going to be with looking like for PvP. But on the whole, I think this has been, although a small patch, I think lots of good news, lots of good little changes coming out, and that login screen is pretty hype. I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.